This episode is brought to you by Amazon Business. We could all use more time. Amazon Business offers smart business buying solutions, so you can spend more time growing your business and less time doing the admin. I can see why they call it smart. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com.
This episode is brought to you by Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus has movies. So many movies. The movies you've seen 1,000 times and could watch 1,000 more. Iconic movies your friends can't believe you haven't seen. New movies, classic movies, new takes on classic movies. So whether you're into Top Gun or The Naked Gun, Mean Girls or Mission Impossible, Smurfs or Sonic the Hedgehog, there's a mountain of movies to discover on Paramount Plus. Start streaming today.
Welcome to episode 61 of the High Volume Hiring Podcast. I am Stephen Rothberg. I'm with College Recruiter, the founder of it, and I am joined here for our 61st episode with my awesome co-host, Jeanette Leeds, who is in an unmarked off of Google Maps. Like, I feel like you're in a bunker someplace.
I can't tell anyone.
Where are you at?
I can't tell anyone where I am. So I'm actually, I can tell you, like just you guys. So I'm in New York City. Just you guys and whoever's listening.
Just us
I'm
and like
New York City at like
people.
A shared office space for the day. I actually just popped over from women's networking luncheon with the new company Talent Collective, which is awesome, which is great. And for those that don't know me, I am Jeanette Leeds. I am the Executive Vice President, Managing Director at AMS, focusing on hourly and high volume solutions. And drum roll, today for our 61st episode, we are here with Adam Gordon, who is the co-founder of Poetry. So Adam, welcome. So thrilled to have you here with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a real honor. 61 episodes is amazing. Most podcasts make it to about 10 and then people give up. So great momentum, and people obviously really enjoy the subject of high volume hiring.
Yeah, we're either popular, persistent, or stubborn. Take your pick.
Or all three.
Or it's like a circus and people just sort of watch through their fingers.
Oh, yeah. At least for me, circus definitely describes it.
Well, we are here today to talk about recruiting enablement. And let's see, the title of today's session is Can Recruiter Enablement Really Save Recruiters 64 Minutes per Day? Which I love. We've quantified it. But okay, so first question, like, what is recruiter enablement, and like what is a recruiter enablement workspace? Because I feel like that's a newish term, and I say newish in the past few years. Sales enablement, but maybe just like walk us through that at first, and then we can get into the nitty-gritty. Yeah,
sure. So I've been in recruitment since 1999, and I started as a recruiter. And after 2 years, I realized I didn't want to hear anybody's life story or career ambitions anymore. But the bit that I really loved was the recruitment marketing, talent attraction type stuff. And so I went into recruitment marketing in first an agency for a few years, and then at PwC for a few years. And then I started my own businesses. And Poetry is my third business. And each one has been quite heavily inspired by sales and marketing. So the first one was a research business. The second one was a marketing automation company. And we were heavily inspired by marketing automation products like Pardo and Marketo and products like that. So we built Candidate ID. We sold that to iCIMS. And during the 10 months that I was in iCIMS, I really enjoyed learning about sales enablement. I'd never worked in a tech company before that I hadn't founded. And so I really enjoyed learning all about sales enablement and how it's really done, how a real tech company does things. And so in learning about it, I started thinking, hang on, what do we do to enable recruiters? Mm-hmm. What do we give them in terms of like scripts for that cold call message and in-mail copy and calculators and props and assets and objection handling responses and how to use the ATS, how to use that CRM, how to use that video solution, and how do we give them access to all the different tools that they need to use? Well, my instinct was we don't, or it's scattered all over the place. And so I left iCIMS at the end of January last year, and I did 6 months of focus groups with talent acquisition and RPO people to really understand if I was right or not. And I was 80% right. And what that means is 80% of the companies that I spoke to were doing basically nothing. They were giving their recruiters a login for LinkedIn, a login to the ATS, a phone, and telling them to get on with the hiring.
Yeah.
Probably 20% of companies had some kind of an initiative. And that may have been, they had a SharePoint. And in that SharePoint, there was some job adverts. There might have been a logo. There might have been the EVP or an employer brand statement or something like that. But one company that had done that told me that they launched it, and in month 1 they got 90% adoption, and in month 2 they got 19% adoption. Right?
Oh boy, a little work to do.
Yeah, and why was that? It was because SharePoint was not a particularly appealing experience for the recruiters. So what is a recruiter enablement workspace? Well, SharePoint could be a recruiter enablement workspace, but it doesn't really fulfill a great job on that. But of the 20% of companies that I found who were doing something, they had centralized assets in some sort of location. And for the very biggest companies, it was normally SharePoint. Sometimes it was, occasionally in tech companies, it was maybe Notion or Confluence or something like that. But bringing things together making things really accessible is a key component of recruiter enablement. The workspace that we've developed is a desktop with tiles, and each one of these tiles represents a solution. And from our research, we have come to the conclusion that splitting them into 4 sort of solution groups is the right thing to do. And those solution groups are marketing, operations, learning, and tools. As in recruitment marketing, rec ops, recruiter learning, and tools. And I wrote an article which included 64 different recruiter enablement tactics.
There's that number again.
No, 64.
Yep, 64 different tactics that a talent acquisition team can, roll out to its recruiters, and they're all free things that they can do with the tools that they've got. They don't have to buy anything new to do this. But those 64 can be broadly split up into that MOLT, MOLT. That's my acronym: recruitment marketing, recruitment operations, recruiter learning, and tools. Could you do this in SharePoint? Almost. Could you do it in Google Sites? Almost. But what we've done is we've built out of the box, like ready to use solutions, more than 30 of them for these different areas, from things like generating a hiring manager kickoff meeting, generating your interview templates for that particular job, generating personas, generating job adverts and outreach messaging and social media posts, and also storing things like policies and processes. The amount of times that people are on Teams going, does anybody know where I can find? And then insert any of like 100 different things. So we want to eliminate the amount of times that people are going, does anyone know where I can find? The answer is, it's in your recruiter enablement workspace.
And that would be very anecdotal also, right? Does anybody know where blank is? It kind of reminds me of like family members that I have that might see 4 different doctors about the same problem, and the correct answer is whichever doctor they saw last. Whoever gave you the answer sort of most recently, that's somehow correct. So if you're just posting something to Slack or where do I find this, you might get an answer back, and that answer may have been correct 6 months ago, but no longer is.
I'll give you another anecdotal one. So during my focus groups, there was a recruitment manager who joined, and she told me that on that day of that focus group,
Welcome to the Hire Her podcast, where women in talent call all the shots. We know, another recruiting podcast, just what the industry needs. Okay, but hear us out. You ever spend hours sourcing that perfect candidate, but they end up ghosting you harder than your Hinge date? Or finally, you get that hiring manager feedback, only for them to, of course, say, "Can we see more candidates?" Lame, right? But let's talk about what's really lame in the industry. How is it that 65% of recruiters are brilliant women, yet most of the decision makers look like a convention for middle-aged dudes named Brad?
That's where we come in. Hire Her isn't just another podcast about hiring trends you already heard like 50 times this week. We're here to elevate women in talent, share their career journeys, and make sure they take the lead. Because let's face it, if recruiting is the backbone of every company, why are we still fighting for a seat at the table? So whether you're a recruiter, a talent leader, or just someone trying to swim through the sausage fest of TA leadership, we got you, girl. Welcome to Hire Her, the recruiting podcast where women's voices aren't just heard, but they're leading the conversation.
So subscribe now, because middle management Brad sure as hell isn't going to do it for you.
In the US and a recruiter somewhere in Europe she had like a team of maybe 20, but she found that day 3 people had written the same job advert in different languages. One of them was written quite well, one of them was written okay, and one of them was written really badly. Right. I mean, so I said, the follow-up question was, it was a bit of a leading question, but like, would there have been a better process for this? Well, yes. Somebody should have written the good one, and then everybody should have used that. And we need libraries, we need repositories. It's a really boring subject, this, but that's the fact. And people often say to me about what we've built, my co-founder is always saying to me, we're talking about the generative AI aspect of what you've built too much. And the fact is that that's not the most important bit. The most important bit is that you've got a proper workspace where you can retrieve the things you need, you can collaborate, you can comment on each other's things, you can, you don't have to reinvent the wheel and create new assets for things. But unfortunately, like a better SharePoint is not a great marketing message. It's not that exciting for people.
Yeah.
Whereas all the generative AI stuff is an exciting message. So I've really got to balance the actual utility aspect of this, which is really the most important bit, with, there's some cool things in there as well.
So I saw on your website, Adam, that you mentioned that recruiters save us 64 minutes a day, I think it said, by using poetry. Where does that 64 minutes come from?
That's right. And, just to give a bit of context on this, we started our company on the 1st of August. We launched our product on the 10th of October. It was not ready, but we launched it anyway. And we thought it was, but we now know it wasn't. We've had our product in the market for like 6 months. And what we have learned in that time is that the longer you are using a product like this, the benefits are better, because you've got more templates for things, you've got more libraries, you've got more people have added into it. So your retrieval of what you need is faster. That 64 minutes is a international FMCG company that told us that that's what they've been able to save so far. And the majority of that time is people no longer having to recreate things that somebody else in the team did. So I'm no longer sitting there writing a social media post about this type of job. That actually, Jeanette did that 3 months ago, and I didn't know that she wrote a great one 3 months ago. So
of course she did.
Of course I did.
That's the main one is not having to recreate things that you need. And then the second one, which is also important, but it's time spent actually finding things. Posting on Teams, does anybody know where I can find? Because you've already spent 15 minutes, taking a look through SharePoint, taking a look through Google Docs or whatever it is, and you don't know where to find that policy or that process or that template for the offer letter or whatever it might be. So bringing everything into the one workspace just makes things so much easier for recruiters. And I genuinely believe that this type of technology is something that becomes not quite air traffic control for talent acquisition, but it is absolutely fundamental. There's so many different things that, ATSs and other technologies just don't really enable.
Absolutely. I love this so much because, the way you started about this, where it was like, hey, sales enablement, right? Like that's where, and nothing like this really is around for recruiters. So how do we enable that? So let's just tie this back as we, last question, high volume recruiting podcast or high volume hiring podcast. Like, can you give like an example that really like someone's a high volume recruiter or manager or head of team, like, because it's all about scale, right? So of course, but maybe bring just one last something.
Yeah.
Leave us with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in terms of high volume recruiting, there's a very large amount of process involved in that. Attraction, the advertising element of it is really, really fundamental. Yeah. We've built when you go into poetry, you can go in there and you can go into the solution which is for research, so that I really understand that job. You can go into the solution that's for building a Boolean string to go and like find lists of people. You can go and build outreach messaging. You can go and build job adverts and social media posts and things like that. We've created what's called a playbook, and so you can click on playbooks and you can choose all of the assets you want, and then you click create, and it returns for you 20 assets within 2 minutes. I mean, that's really scaling that recruiter's ability to do a great job. And when I think about high volume, I think about you're not doing a lot of Boolean searching and you're not doing a lot of like social media outreach and that type of thing. But what you are doing is a lot of analysis around the personas of the individuals. Where do they hang out? What job boards do they go on to? What publications do they read? What social networks are they on? You really need to understand a lot of that stuff. And so what we've done is, as I say, we've given the ability for a recruiter to go and get masses of background information and assets which are on brand for the organization. Because within the templating area, you choose the logo, you choose the hashtags you want, you choose and that's all done in the recruitment marketing kind of like level. So me as a recruiter, I don't have to go to Stephen and say, hey, Stephen, can you check my job advert and tell me what you think? It's already done for you. So for busy recruiters dealing with far too many applications a lot of the time from people that are unsuitable, you need all the time you can get. And so the ability to take a lot of this busy work away and just have it done for you with pressing a few buttons is something that volume recruitment teams are finding extremely useful.
Awesome.
Love it. I'm like, there you go. Awesome. Love it. Like, how do our listeners contact you for questions?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm easy to find. There we go. That's how. Just one quick call to action I'd like to add, if it's okay, and that is, no companies, unless they're already using our solution, no companies are already using a recruiter enablement workspace. And so, it might be a challenging thing to think about. And so as a result, we make it available for free for the first user in any company. So if you're listening to this or watching this and you think, actually, that looks useful, just go to poetryhr.com. You can sign up there for free, and you can share your login with all of your team if you want, so they can all have a look. That's not a problem at all. You don't start paying until the second user comes aboard, but hopefully that's going to be useful.
Very cool. Adam, pleasure as always. Look forward to seeing you at an upcoming conference. Maybe something in Glasgow.
I really hope so. Look forward to hosting you here in Scotland. Bring your kilt.
Bring your kilt.
I definitely don't think you want to see me in a kilt, but okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely. That's an image that you definitely don't want in your head. Cheers, Jeanette. Cheers, Adam.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.